Marcus Wellington adjusted his expensive watch as his black Mercedes pulled up to the exclusive Riverside Academy. The morning sun reflected off the polished hood of his car, and he could see other luxury vehicles dropping off children at the prestigious private school. As one of the city's most successful tech entrepreneurs, Marcus had worked hard to give his 8-year-old daughter, Emma, the best education money could buy. Emma bounced in her seat, her designer school bag clutched tightly in her small hands. She had been attending Riverside Academy for 3 months now, ever since Marcus and his wife Sarah had moved to this upscale neighborhood. The school fees alone cost more than what most families earned in a year, but Marcus believed his daughter deserved every opportunity. "Have a great day, Princess," Marcus said, leaning over to kiss Emma's forehead. She smiled and hugged him tight before climbing out of the car. He watched as she walked through the ornate iron gates, her blonde curls bouncing with each step. The school building stood like a monument to education, with its red brick walls and ivy-covered columns. Marcus had built his software company from nothing, starting in a cramped garage 12 years ago. Now, at 35, he employed over 500 people, and his company was valued at nearly $2 billion. Success had come with sacrifices, though. He often worked 16-hour days and traveled frequently for business meetings. Sometimes he worried that Emma barely knew him, but he told himself he was securing her future. As he drove away from the school, Marcus felt satisfied with his choices. Emma would receive the finest education, make connections with other wealthy families, and never have to struggle like he had growing up in a working-class neighborhood. His phone buzzed with notifications about stock prices and meeting requests, pulling his attention back to the business world that consumed most of his waking hours. The Wellington family lived in a mansion worth $12 million, complete, with a swimming pool, tennis court, and a staff of housekeepers. Sarah, his wife, spent her days organizing charity events and managing their social calendar. She came from old money, unlike Marcus, who had earned every dollar through late nights and relentless determination. Emma seemed happy at her new school, though she sometimes mentioned feeling different from the other children. Marcus assumed this was normal adjustment anxiety and had arranged for her to see a child psychologist who specialized in helping children of wealthy families. The doctor assured them that Emma was developing normally and just needed time to settle into her new environment. At Riverside Academy, Emma tried her best to fit in with her classmates. Most of them had attended the school since kindergarten and had formed tight friendship groups. She found the academic work challenging but manageable, thanks to the private tutors Marcus had hired to help her catch up. The teachers were kind but formal, maintaining the professional distance expected at such an elite institution. During lunch breaks, Emma often sat alone, watching the other children play games she didn't understand or talk about vacations to, places she had never heard of. She missed her old school and the friends she had left behind when her family moved. At her previous school, children came from all different backgrounds, and she had felt more comfortable there. Marcus rarely had time to ask Emma detailed questions about her school day. Their conversations were usually brief exchanges during dinner or car rides focused on grades and upcoming assignments. Sarah was more involved in the social aspects, arranging playdates with the children of their new neighbors and ensuring Emma participated in the right extracurricular activities. The pressure to succeed was something Emma could sense, even at her young age. She knew her parents expected excellence, and she worked hard to meet their standards. Her bedroom was filled with educational toys, advanced books, and art supplies, but she sometimes felt overwhelmed by all the opportunities presented to her. One evening, while Marcus was reviewing quarterly reports in his home office, Emma knocked on the door. She wanted to show him a drawing she had made at school, a picture of their family standing in front of their house. In the drawing, Marcus was holding a briefcase and looking at his phone, while Sarah was dressed in an elegant gown. Emma had drawn herself standing slightly apart from them, looking small and uncertain. Marcus glanced at the drawing briefly, praised Emma's artistic skills, and promised to display it on his office wall. He was already thinking about the conference call scheduled for later that evening with investors in Tokyo. Emma left the office feeling proud but somehow hollow, sensing that her father's attention had already moved elsewhere. The next morning followed the same routine. Marcus dropped Emma off at school before heading to his downtown office, a gleaming tower that bore his company's name. He had meetings scheduled back-to-back until evening, including presentations to potential new clients and strategy sessions with his executive team. Emma walked through the school gates, her small figure disappearing into the crowd of other uniformed children. She carried with her not just books and supplies, but also the weight of expectations and the quiet loneliness that money couldn't solve. Neither she nor her father could have predicted that this ordinary Tuesday morning would be the beginning of a series of events that would change their family forever. As Marcus drove away, focused on the day's business challenges, he had no idea that his daughter was about to encounter someone who would teach them both lessons that no amount of wealth could buy. The story of the Wellington family was about to take an unexpected turn, one that would force them to question everything they thought they knew about success, happiness, and what truly matters in life. Emma sat in the back corner of her mathematics classroom, struggling to understand fractions while her classmates seemed to grasp the concept effortlessly. Mrs. Henderson, the teacher, moved through the lesson quickly, assuming all students were keeping pace. Emma raised her hand tentatively, but the teacher was already moving on to the next problem. During recess, Emma found herself alone again on the playground. The other children had formed groups for various games, but nobody invited her to join. She wandered toward the edge of the school property, where a tall iron fence separated the academy from the public sidewalk beyond. Through the bars, she could see the regular world continuing its daily rhythm. That's when she first noticed the girl sitting on the concrete steps of an abandoned building across the street. The girl appeared to be around Emma's age, maybe a year older, but she looked very different from anyone Emma had ever seen. Her clothes were worn and dirty, her dark hair was tangled and unwashed, and she seemed to be writing something in a notebook with a pencil stub. Emma pressed closer to the fence, curiosity overcoming her shyness. The girl looked up and saw Emma, watching her. Instead of turning away, she smiled and waved. Emma waved back, feeling a flutter of excitement at this unexpected connection. For the next several days, Emma looked for the girl during every recess. The girl was always there, sitting on those same concrete steps, either writing in her notebook or reading books that looked old and battered. Sometimes she had a small paper bag with her that appeared to contain her lunch. Emma began timing her outdoor breaks to coincide with seeing this mysterious girl. On Friday, Emma gathered her courage and walked as close to the fence as possible. "Hi," she called out softly. The girl looked up from her notebook and smiled. Again. "Hello," she replied, her voice carrying clearly across the empty street. "I'm Maya. I see you watching me every day." Emma felt her cheeks grow warm. "I'm Emma. I go to school here. What do you write in your book?" Maya held up her notebook. "Stories and math problems. I teach myself things. Would you like to see?" Emma nodded eagerly, though the fence separated them by several feet. Maya stood up and walked closer, holding her notebook so Emma could see the pages. The handwriting was careful and neat, and Emma could see mathematical equations mixed with what looked like poetry and short stories. "You teach yourself?" Emma asked, amazed. At Riverside Academy, everything was taught by professional educators with advanced degrees. The idea that someone could learn things on their own seemed impossible. "I have to," Maya explained simply. "I don't go to regular school anymore. My mom lost her job last year and we had to leave our apartment. We've been staying in different places and I miss too much school to catch up. But I don't want to fall behind. So I study on my own." Emma's world suddenly felt tilted. She had never met anyone who didn't have a home or who couldn't attend school. "Where do you live now?" she asked quietly. Maya gestured toward the abandoned building behind her. Sometimes there, sometimes other places. It depends on whether the security guards chase us away. My mom looks for work during the day, so I stay here and study. It's quiet, and nobody bothers me. The bell rang, signaling the end of recess. Emma had to return to class, but her mind remained focused on Maya and her notebook. During her afternoon lessons, Emma found it difficult to concentrate. She kept thinking about the girl who taught herself mathematics while sitting on concrete steps, who lived in abandoned buildings, who smiled despite having so little. That evening at dinner, Emma tried to tell her parents about Maya. "There's a girl across from school who doesn't have a home," she began, but Marcus was reading emails on his phone and only half listening. "That's nice, sweetie," he murmured absently, responding to a message from his chief financial officer. Sarah looked up from her salad. "Emma, you shouldn't talk to strangers, especially people who hang around the school. They could be dangerous." "But she's just a girl like me," Emma protested. "She's really smart. She teaches herself math and writes stories." Sarah frowned. "Honey, those people choose to live that way. It's not our responsibility to get involved. Your father works very hard to keep you safe and give you everything you need. You shouldn't worry about people outside our world." Emma felt frustrated and confused. Maya didn't seem dangerous at all. In fact, she seemed nicer and more interesting than most of the children at Riverside Academy. Emma went to bed that night thinking about Maya's careful handwriting and her worn notebook filled with self-taught lessons. The following Monday, Emma hurried to the fence during recess, hoping to see Maya again. The girl was there as usual, but this time she wasn't alone. A woman sat beside her on the steps, a thin woman with Maya's same dark hair and kind eyes. Emma could see that the woman was helping Maya with something in her notebook. Maya noticed Emma and waved her over to the fence. "This is my mom, Elena," she called out. The woman looked up and smiled warmly at Emma, though Emma could see exhaustion in her eyes. "Your daughter is very smart," Emma said shyly. "She teaches herself everything." Elena's expression grew proud, but also sad. "Maya is brilliant. Before we lost our home, she was at the top of her class. Now I try to help her continue learning, but it's hard when we're always moving around." Emma learned that Elena had been an accountant before losing her job when the company she worked for went out of business. She had been unable to find steady employment since then, and their savings had run out months ago. Despite their circumstances, both Elena and Maya maintained hope that things would improve. "Maybe I could help Maya with her studies," Emma suggested, impulsively. "I have lots of books and supplies at home." Elena looked touched, but shook her head gently. "That's very kind, but we couldn't accept charity from a child. Besides, your school probably wouldn't allow it." Emma felt deflated, but not defeated. She spent the rest of the school day thinking about Maya and Elena, wondering how she could help them. That afternoon, as her father's driver picked her up in the Mercedes, Emma stared out the window at the abandoned building where Maya sometimes stayed. For the first time in her life, she began to understand that not everyone lived the way her family did, and that intelligence and kindness existed in places she had never thought to look. Emma's mathematics skills began improving dramatically after her conversations with Maya. During their daily fence-side chats, Maya had started explaining mathematical concepts in ways that made perfect sense to Emma. Maya's self-taught methods were often clearer than the formal lessons at Riverside Academy. "Think of fractions like pieces of pizza," Maya had explained one day, drawing diagrams in the dirt with a stick since she couldn't pass her notebook through the fence. "If you have 8 slices and you eat 3, you've eaten 3/8 of the pizza. The bottom number tells you how many total pieces there were, and the top number tells you how many pieces you're talking about." Emma's teacher, Mrs. Henderson, noticed the improvement immediately. Emma began raising her hand confidently, answering questions correctly, and even helping other students who struggled with the same concepts she had found difficult just weeks before. Mrs. Henderson was pleased but puzzled by Emma's sudden mathematical breakthrough. One afternoon, Emma decided to take action. She had been thinking about Maya's situation for days, and she couldn't bear the thought of her new friend struggling to learn without proper supplies. During art class, while other students worked on their assignments, Emma carefully removed several pencils, erasers, and sheets of paper from the classroom supplies. She also took a small notebook from her own bag. At recess, Emma approached the fence with her hidden supplies. Maya was there as usual, working on mathematics problems in her worn notebook. "I brought you some things," Emma whispered, looking around to make sure no teachers were watching. Maya's eyes widened as Emma pushed the supplies through the fence. "Emma, I can't take these. You could get in trouble." "I want you to have them," Emma insisted. "You're teaching yourself so many things, but you need proper supplies. These aren't even expensive at my school. They have boxes full of them." Maya accepted the gifts reluctantly, clearly moved by Emma's generosity. "Thank you," she said softly. "This means more than you know." Over the following weeks, their friendship deepened. Maya shared stories about the places she and her mother had lived, the different jobs her mother had tried to find, and the dreams she still held about returning to regular school someday. Emma told Maya about her loneliness at Riverside Academy, her father's constant work schedule, and her struggles to fit in with her wealthy classmates. "Money doesn't solve everything, does it?" Maya observed one day. "You seem sadder than me sometimes, even though you have so much." Emma had never thought about it that way, but Maya was right. Despite having everything money could buy, Emma felt empty in ways she couldn't explain. Maya, who owned almost nothing, seemed more content and definitely more knowledgeable about many subjects. Their daily lessons continued. Maya taught Emma about history, science, and literature, drawing from books she borrowed from the public library when she could get there. Emma shared information from her expensive textbooks and private tutoring sessions. They created an informal exchange of knowledge that benefited them both. One Tuesday morning, Marcus decided to surprise Emma by picking her up from school personally, instead of sending his driver. He had finished an important business meeting early and thought he would use the extra time to connect with his daughter. As he walked toward the school entrance to sign Emma out early, he noticed her standing by the fence at the edge of the playground. Marcus approached quietly, planning to surprise Emma, but stopped when he realized she was deep in conversation with someone on the other side of the fence. Curiosity made him step closer, and he could hear voices discussing mathematical concepts that seemed quite advanced for elementary school children. "So if you multiply both the top and bottom of a fraction by the same number, you get an equivalent fraction," Maya was explaining, drawing examples in her notebook and holding it up so Emma could see. 3/4 is the same as 6/8 or 9/12. They're all equal, just written differently. Emma nodded eagerly. "That makes so much more sense than how Mrs. Henderson explained it. She just told us to memorize the rules, but you're showing me why the rules work." Marcus moved closer, staying hidden behind a large oak tree. He could see the girl Emma was talking to, and his heart sank. The child was clearly homeless, wearing clothes that had seen better days and sitting on the steps of what appeared to be an abandoned building. His first instinct was protective anger. What was this street child doing talking to his daughter? But as he continued listening, Marcus found himself amazed by the quality of the girl's teaching. She was explaining complex mathematical relationships with clarity and patience that impressed him. Her methods were intuitive and effective, better than some professional educators he had encountered. "Now try this problem," Maya said, creating a new equation in her notebook. "If a recipe calls for 2/3 cup of flour, but you want to make half the recipe, how much flour do you need?" Emma thought carefully. "I need to multiply 2/3 by 1/2, right?" "Exactly. And remember, when you multiply fractions, You multiply the tops together and the bottoms together. Marcus watched Emma work through the problem with Maya's guidance, successfully arriving at the correct answer of 1/3 cup. He realized that this homeless girl had accomplished something his expensive tutors hadn't managed to do. She had made Emma truly understand mathematics instead of just memorizing formulas. As the conversation continued, Marcus learned more about Maya and her situation. He heard about her mother, Elena, their struggles to find stable housing, and Maya's determination to continue her education despite impossible circumstances. He was struck by the girl's intelligence, resilience, and generous spirit. Marcus also noticed something else that shocked him. Emma seemed happier and more animated than he had seen her in months. She was laughing, asking thoughtful questions, and displaying a genuine love of learning that had been absent from her expensive private school experience. The school bell rang, signaling the end of recess. Emma gathered her things and said goodbye to Maya, promising to see her the next day. As Emma walked back toward the school building, Marcus quickly moved to intercept her path. "Emma!" he called out, as if he had just arrived. "I came to pick you up early today. I thought we could spend some time together." Emma's face lit up with surprise and joy. "Really, Daddy? Just you and me?" As they walked toward his car, Marcus's mind raced with questions and conflicting emotions. He was proud of Emma's academic progress, but troubled by her association with a homeless child. He was impressed by Maya's teaching abilities, but concerned about safety and appropriateness. Most importantly, he was forced to confront an uncomfortable truth. A young girl living on the streets was providing his daughter with something his millions of dollars couldn't buy: genuine understanding, patience, and friendship. That evening, Marcus found himself unable to concentrate on work. He kept thinking about what he had witnessed and about the choices he would need to make. His next move would determine not just Emma's future, but possibly Maya's as well. That night, Marcus couldn't sleep. He stood in his home office, staring out the window at the city lights, replaying the conversation he had overheard between Emma and Maya. He had built his entire fortune on recognizing talent and potential, yet he had almost missed the remarkable gift that homeless girl possessed. At 3 a.m, Marcus found himself researching childhood homelessness statistics online. The numbers were staggering. Thousands of children in their city alone were living without stable housing, many missing months or years of education. He read story after story of bright children whose potential was being wasted due to circumstances beyond their control. Marcus thought about his own childhood. His family hadn't been wealthy, but they had always had a roof over their heads and food on the table. His parents had worked multiple jobs to ensure he could attend decent schools and eventually earn a scholarship to college. Everything he had achieved started with that educational foundation. The next morning at breakfast, Marcus watched Emma more carefully than usual. She seemed excited about going to school, chattering about mathematics problems and story ideas. When had she become so enthusiastic about learning? He realized it had started around the same time she began mentioning the girl across from school. "Emma," Marcus said carefully, "tell me more about your friend Maya." Emma's eyes brightened. "She's amazing, Daddy. She knows so much about everything, and she explains things in ways that make sense. She taught herself algebra and geometry, and she reads books about history and science. She even writes poetry." Sarah looked up from her tablet with concern. "Marcus, I thought we discussed this. Emma shouldn't be talking to homeless people. It's not safe, and it's not appropriate." "Maybe we should learn more about the situation before making judgments," Marcus replied, surprising both Emma and Sarah with his response. After dropping Emma at school, Marcus didn't head to his office, as usual. Instead, he parked across the street from Riverside Academy and waited. He felt slightly foolish, a billionaire businessman conducting surveillance on a homeless child, but he needed to understand the full situation. Around mid-morning, Maya appeared with her mother, Elena. They sat on the concrete steps, and Marcus watched as Elena helped Maya with her studies. Even from a distance, he could see the love and dedication between mother and daughter. Elena's clothing was clean but worn, and she carried herself with dignity despite their obvious struggles. Marcus made a decision that would have seemed impossible to him just days earlier. He got out of his car, crossed the street, and approached them directly. "Excuse me," he said gently. "Are you Maya?" Both Maya and Elena looked up with surprise and wariness. Elena instinctively moved protectively closer to her daughter. "I'm Emma's father, Marcus Wellington," he continued. "I understand you've been helping my daughter with her mathematics." Maya nodded slowly, uncertain whether she was in trouble. "Yes, sir. Emma is very smart. She just needed someone to explain things differently." Marcus sat down on the steps beside them, ignoring the expensive suit that would probably need dry cleaning afterward. "Maya, what you've been doing for Emma is remarkable. Her teachers have noticed significant improvement in her work." Elena spoke for the first time, her voice cautious but proud. "Maya has always loved learning. Even with everything we've been through, she refuses to give up on her education." "Tell me about your background," Marcus requested gently. Elena explained their story. She had worked as an accountant for 15 years before her company downsized and eliminated her position. Despite her experience and qualifications, finding new employment had proven nearly impossible. Age discrimination, gaps in her resume, due to caring for Maya, and the address problem created by their homelessness had made job hunting a nightmare. "I've applied for over 300 positions in the past year," Elena said, her voice heavy with exhaustion. "Even when I get interviews, as soon as they learn we don't have a permanent address, they lose interest. It's a cycle we can't break." Marcus learned that Elena and Maya moved between various shelters, occasionally stayed with distant relatives who could spare a couch for a few nights, and sometimes slept in their old car when nothing else was available. Through it all, Maya had continued studying independently, using library books and materials she found or was given. "What subjects interest you most, Maya?" Marcus asked. Maya's entire demeanor changed as she began discussing her passion for learning. She talked about mathematics with the enthusiasm of a graduate student, explained historical events with remarkable insight, and shared her dreams of one day becoming a teacher so she could help other children learn. "I want to create a school where learning is fun," Maya said, her eyes shining with possibilities. "Where teachers explain things in different ways until every student understands. Where no one gets left behind just because they learn differently." Marcus felt something shift inside his chest. This 12-year-old girl, living in poverty and facing enormous challenges, had a clearer vision of educational excellence than most professional educators he knew. "Maya, would you be interested in taking some placement tests?" Marcus asked suddenly. "I'd like to know exactly where you stand academically." Elena looked suspicious. "What kind of tests? What would happen? With the results?" Marcus realized he was getting ahead of himself. "I apologize. I should explain my thinking. Maya is clearly gifted, and she's been helping Emma in ways that expensive tutors couldn't manage. I'm wondering if there might be opportunities to help both girls." "We don't need charity," Elena said firmly, her pride evident despite their desperate circumstances. "I'm not talking about charity," Marcus replied. "I'm talking about recognizing talent and potential. Maya has something special, and Emma has found in her something that money can't buy. A true friend and mentor." Over the next hour, Marcus listened as Maya demonstrated her knowledge across various subjects. She solved complex mathematical problems. In her head, discussed literature with sophisticated analysis and explained scientific concepts with remarkable clarity. Elena watched nervously but with obvious pride as her daughter showcased abilities that had been hidden from the world. As their conversation continued, Marcus began forming a plan that was both bold and risky. It would challenge everything his social circle believed about appropriate boundaries between classes. It would require him to make choices based on character rather than social status. Most importantly, It would test whether he was truly the kind of man who could recognize worth beyond wealth. When recess began and Emma appeared at the fence, Marcus surprised her by walking over and introducing himself properly to Maya. Emma's confusion quickly turned to delight as she realized her father was meeting her secret friend. "Daddy, isn't Maya amazing?" Emma asked excitedly. "She knows everything about math and science and stories." Marcus looked at both girls, seeing the genuine affection and respect between them. He thought about Emma's improved academic performance, her increased happiness, and the valuable lessons about friendship and learning that Maya had provided. "Yes," Marcus said slowly, "Maya is quite remarkable indeed." As he drove Emma home that afternoon, Marcus's mind was made up. His next move would shock everyone who knew him, but it was the right thing to do. He was about to prove that true wisdom sometimes comes from the most unexpected places. The next morning, Marcus called an emergency meeting with his executive team and canceled all his appointments for the rest of the week. His assistant, Jennifer, was bewildered by this sudden change in schedule. Marcus Wellington never canceled important meetings, especially not for mysterious personal matters. Marcus spent the morning making phone calls that would have seemed impossible just days earlier. He contacted the principal of Riverside Academy, the admissions director, and several educational consultants. Each conversation was carefully planned, but he knew his next steps would require delicate handling. "Dr. Morrison," Marcus said to Riverside Academy's principal, "I need to discuss a special admissions case with you. There's a gifted student I'd like to have evaluated for immediate enrollment." Dr. Morrison was always eager to accommodate the Wellington family, given Marcus's significant donations to the school. "Of course, Mr. Wellington. What can you tell me about this prospective student?" "Her name is Maya Rodriguez. She's been homeschooling herself and demonstrates exceptional academic abilities, particularly in mathematics and language arts. I'd like to arrange for comprehensive placement testing." "Certainly. What school is she transferring from?" Marcus paused. That's where things become more complex. "Maya has been out of formal education for nearly a year due to family circumstances. However, her academic abilities exceed most students currently enrolled at Riverside." Dr. Morrison's tone became more cautious. "I see. What are these family circumstances?" "Maya and her mother, Elena, are currently experiencing homelessness. Elena is a former accountant who lost her position and has been unable to find stable employment. Despite their situation, Maya has continued her education independently and has been helping my daughter Emma with mathematics." The silence on the other end of the phone lasted several uncomfortable seconds. "Mr. Wellington, while I appreciate your concern for this child, Riverside Academy has certain standards and requirements. Our families expect a particular environment for their children." "Dr. Morrison," Marcus said firmly, "I'm not asking you to lower standards. I'm asking you to evaluate a student based on her abilities rather than her current circumstances. If Maya passes your academic assessments, she deserves consideration regardless of her housing situation. There are also practical concerns," Dr. Morrison continued. "Tuition, uniforms, transportation, supplies. How would these expenses be covered?" Marcus had anticipated this question. "I'll handle all financial arrangements. What I need from you is a commitment to evaluate Maya fairly and completely." After significant discussion, Dr. Morrison agreed to conduct a comprehensive academic assessment. Marcus knew this was just the first hurdle, but it was an important one. His next call was to Elena, whose phone number Maya had shyly provided the day before. Elena sounded surprised and wary when Marcus explained his proposal. "Mr. Wellington, I appreciate your interest in Maya's education, but I'm concerned about the implications. What would people think? What would happen if Maya couldn't keep up with the other students?" "Elena, from what I've observed, Maya wouldn't have trouble keeping up. She'd likely be ahead of most students her age. As for what people think, that's my concern to manage, not yours. Elena was quiet for a long moment. Why would you do this? You don't know us. Marcus considered his answer carefully. Because Maya has a gift that shouldn't be wasted due to circumstances beyond her control. Because she's helped my daughter in ways I couldn't. And because I believe talent and character matter more than social status. That afternoon, Marcus brought Elena and Maya to Riverside Academy for the testing process. He had arranged for them to use the school's shower facilities first and had purchased appropriate clothing for Maya to wear during the assessment. Elena protested the expenses, but Marcus gently insisted, "This isn't charity," he repeated. "This is an investment in potential." Maya was nervous as she entered the testing room, but her natural curiosity and love of learning soon took over. She worked through mathematics problems, reading comprehension exercises, and writing assignments with focused determination. The testing coordinator, Mrs. Phillips, watched with growing amazement as Maya demonstrated abilities that exceeded grade-level expectations in multiple subjects. While Maya was being tested, Marcus sat with Elena in the school's elegant waiting area. Other parents who arrived for various meetings stared curiously at Elena, clearly recognizing that she didn't belong to their social circle. Marcus noticed their judgmental glances and felt a flash of anger at their narrow-mindedness. "Are you sure about this?" Elena asked quietly. "Maya and I have learned to be self-sufficient. We don't want to be anyone's charity project." "Elena, let me ask you something," Marcus replied. "If you had the resources I have, and you met a child with Maya's abilities living in Maya's circumstances, what would you do?" Elena met his eyes directly. "I would help," she admitted. "Then you understand why I'm doing this. It's not about charity. It's about recognizing value and potential wherever it exists." 3 hours later, Maya emerged from the testing room, exhausted, but smiling. Mrs. Phillips approached Marcus with an expression of amazement. "Mr. Wellington, Maya's test scores are extraordinary. She's performing at high school level in mathematics and reading comprehension. Her writing skills are sophisticated and her problem-solving abilities are remarkable. In 20 years of educational assessment, I've rarely seen natural talent of this caliber." Marcus felt vindicated, but not surprised. He had recognized Maya's exceptional abilities from their first conversation. Dr. Morrison joined them, holding Maya's test results. His earlier reluctance had been replaced by professional interest. "These scores are indeed impressive. However, there are still practical considerations about integration into our school community." "What kind of considerations?" Marcus asked, though he suspected he knew the answer. "Well, the cultural differences, social dynamics, expectations from other families. Our students come from similar backgrounds, and Maya's situation is quite different." Marcus stood up, his business instincts taking over. "Dr. Morrison, Riverside Academy receives significant funding from successful entrepreneurs like myself. We support this institution because we believe it provides excellent education. If that excellence is only available to children based on their parents' bank accounts, rather than their own abilities, then perhaps I've been investing in the wrong institution." The threat was subtle, but unmistakable. Dr. Morrison understood immediately that losing Marcus Wellington's financial support would impact the school significantly. "Of course, we want to support gifted students regardless of background," Dr. Morrison said quickly. "If Maya's assessment scores support admission, we'll find a way to make it work." As they prepared to leave the school, Maya turned to Marcus with tears in her eyes. "Mr. Wellington, why are you helping us? You don't even know us." Marcus knelt down to Maya's eye level. "Maya, your friendship has made Emma happier than she's been since we moved here. You've helped her learn and grow in ways I couldn't. More than that, you've shown her what real intelligence and character look like. I'm helping you because you've already helped us, and because talent like yours should be nurtured, not wasted." That evening, Marcus faced the most difficult conversation yet. He had to tell Sarah about his decision to sponsor Maya's enrollment at Riverside Academy. Sarah's reaction was exactly what he had expected. "Marcus, have you lost your mind? What will people say? What about Emma's reputation? What about our reputation? Sarah, what about doing the right thing? What about recognizing that this girl has more natural intelligence than most children in Emma's class? What about teaching our daughter that character matters more than bank accounts?" Their argument continued late into the night. But Marcus's mind was made up. His next move would indeed leave everyone stunned, but it would also change two young girls' lives forever. Marcus arrived at Riverside Academy on Monday morning with both Emma and Maya in his car. The sight of the billionaire tech entrepreneur walking through the school gates with a homeless girl caused immediate whispers among parents and staff. Sarah had refused to participate in what she called Marcus's social experiment, choosing to stay home rather than face the inevitable questions and stares. Maya wore a new Riverside Academy uniform that Marcus had purchased over the weekend, along with all the necessary school supplies and books. Elena had spent Sunday evening helping Maya prepare emotionally for her first day at the prestigious institution. Despite Maya's excitement about returning to formal education, both mother and daughter were nervous about how she would be received. Emma bounced excitedly beside her new classmate. "Maya, you're going to love Mrs. Henderson's math class, and wait until you meet the librarian, Mrs. Patterson. She has books about everything." Dr. Morrison met them at the entrance, his smile carefully professional. "Welcome to Riverside Academy, Maya. We're pleased to have such a gifted student join our community." As they walked through the marble hallways lined with portraits of distinguished alumni, other students stared openly at Maya. Some whispered to their friends, clearly curious, about the new girl who had appeared without warning in the middle of the school year. Maya held her head high, but Marcus could see her hands trembling slightly as she clutched her new notebook. The first real test came during morning assembly, where Dr. Morrison announced Maya's enrollment to the entire school. "We're pleased to welcome Maya Rodriguez to Riverside Academy. Maya has demonstrated exceptional academic abilities and will be joining the 6th grade class immediately." After assembly, Marcus watched from the hallway as Maya entered her first classroom. Emma stayed close to her new friend, introducing her to other students and helping her find supplies. Most children were curious but welcoming, though Marcus noticed a few who seemed to whisper and point. During recess, the real challenges began. Marcus observed from his car as a group of older students approached Maya and Emma near the playground equipment. He couldn't hear their conversation, but he could see Maya's posture stiffen and Emma step protectively closer to her friend. Later, Marcus learned what had happened from Emma. Some 8th graders asked Maya where she lives and why her clothes looked so new. When she didn't answer, they said she probably didn't belong at Riverside because her family wasn't rich enough. "I told them that Maya is smarter than all of them combined." That afternoon, Marcus received a phone call from Dr. Morrison. "Mr. Wellington, we need to discuss Maya's first day. There have been some concerns raised by other parents." Marcus felt his jaw tighten. "What kinds of concerns?" "Well, several families have called asking about our admission policies. They're wondering how a student with Maya's background was accepted so quickly. There are also questions about whether this sets a precedent for other families in difficult circumstances." "Dr. Morrison, are any of these concerns related to Maya's academic performance or behavior?" "No, her teachers report that she's exceptionally bright and well-behaved. In fact, her mathematics teacher said Maya solved problems that most students won't encounter until high school." "Then what exactly is the problem?" Dr. Morrison hesitated. "The problem is perception, Mr. Wellington. Some families pay significant tuition to maintain a certain environment for their children. They're concerned about the message we're sending." Marcus felt his patience wearing thin. "The message we're sending is that talent and character matter more than bank account balances. If some families find that threatening, perhaps they should examine their own values." Despite the social challenges, Maya's academic performance was extraordinary. Within her first week, she had impressed every teacher with her knowledge, creativity, and dedication. Her mathematics teacher, Mrs. Henderson, approached Marcus personally to express her amazement. "Mr. Wellington, Maya is working at a level that exceeds most high school students I've taught. Her understanding of complex concepts is intuitive, and her ability to explain things to other students is remarkable. She's actually helping several children who were struggling with concepts I couldn't get them to understand." Emma confirmed this at dinner. "Maya helped 3 kids with their math homework today. She explained fractions using pizza slices and pennies, and suddenly everyone understood. Mrs. Henderson asked Maya to help teach the next lesson." Marcus felt proud but also concerned about the additional pressure this might place on Maya. He had spoken with Elena several times throughout the week, checking on how Maya was adjusting. Elena reported that Maya came home each day exhausted but excited, full of stories about new things she had learned and new friends she had made. The breakthrough came during the second week when Maya participated in the school's annual mathematics competition. Students were given complex word problems to solve individually, and the top performers would represent Riverside Academy at the regional competition. Maya finished her test in half the allotted time and spent the remaining period helping other students work through difficult problems. When the results were announced, Maya had achieved the highest score in the school's history, surpassing records set by students who had attended Riverside since kindergarten. The news spread quickly through the parent community. Suddenly, families who had questioned Maya's presence were asking how their own children could receive tutoring from this remarkable girl. Dr. Morrison called Marcus with a very different tone than their previous conversations. "Mr. Wellington, I owe you an apology. Maya's performance has been extraordinary, and her positive influence on other students is undeniable. Several parents have specifically requested that their children be placed in Maya's study groups." Marcus smiled to himself. "Dr. Morrison, Maya isn't a tutoring service. She's a student who deserves the same respect and opportunities as every other child at Riverside." The transformation in school culture became evident during the third week when Maya was elected to the student council, despite being the newest student in her grade. Her campaign speech about making education accessible and enjoyable for every learning style resonated with students across all grade levels. Emma burst into the house that afternoon with news of Maya's victory. "Daddy, Maya won by the biggest margin ever. Everyone loves her ideas about peer tutoring and study groups. She's going to help make Riverside a better school for everyone." That evening, Marcus received a call from Elena. Her voice was filled with emotion as she shared her gratitude. "Marcus, I don't know how to thank you. Maya comes home every day glowing with happiness. For the first time in over a year, she feels like a normal child again. But more than that, she feels valued and appreciated for who she is. Elena, Maya earned every bit of recognition she's received. I simply provided the opportunity. What she's accomplished is entirely due to her own abilities and character." "There's something else," Elena continued. "I received a job offer yesterday. The mother of one of Maya's classmates owns an accounting firm, and when she learned about my background, she offered me a position. It's the first real opportunity I've had in over a year." Marcus felt a warmth spread through his chest. The ripple effects of recognizing Maya's worth were extending far beyond what he had initially imagined. 6 months later, Marcus stood in the auditorium of Riverside Academy watching Maya receive the school's highest academic honor. Elena sat in the front row, wearing professional clothing and the confident posture of someone who had regained her footing in life. They had moved into a small apartment near the school, and Elena's new job was providing the stability both mother and daughter needed. Emma sat beside Maya on the stage as vice president of the student council, beaming with pride for her best friend's achievements. The two girls had become inseparable, each bringing out the best in the other. Emma's grades had continued to improve, but more importantly, she had developed confidence, empathy, and a genuine love of learning. As Maya stepped forward to accept her award, she caught Marcus's eye in the audience and smiled. In that moment, Marcus realized that his decision to help Maya had transformed not just her life and Elena's, but his own family as well. Emma had learned lessons about friendship, character, and the true meaning of success that no amount of money could have taught her. Sarah, who now sat proudly beside Marcus, had eventually come to understand and support his decision. She had been won over by Maya's grace, intelligence, and the positive influence she had on Emma. The concerns about social status and reputation had faded when confronted with the reality of Maya's remarkable character. Dr. Morrison approached Marcus after the ceremony. "Mr. Wellington, I want you to know that Maya's presence has elevated our entire academic program. Other students are working harder, thinking more creatively, and supporting each other in ways we've never seen before. You've taught us all valuable lessons about recognizing potential wherever it exists." As the families gathered for the reception afterward, Marcus watched Maya and Emma laughing together while helping younger students with a science project. The sight filled him with satisfaction that surpassed any business success he had ever achieved. His next move had indeed left everyone stunned, but not in the way his critics had expected. Instead of lowering standards or causing problems, Maya's presence had raised the bar for everyone. She had proven that true excellence has nothing to do with family wealth and everything to do with character, determination, and the courage to recognize worth in unexpected places. That evening, as Marcus tucked Emma into bed, she looked up at him with serious eyes. "Daddy, you did the right thing helping Maya, didn't you?" Marcus smiled and kissed his daughter's forehead. "Yes, sweetheart. Sometimes the most important thing we can do is give talented people the opportunity to show what they're capable of accomplishing." "Maya says that kindness is the smartest thing anyone can do," Emma said sleepily. As Marcus turned off the lights, he reflected on how a chance encounter between two girls from completely different worlds had taught his entire family about the true meaning of success, friendship, and the responsibility that comes with privilege. His decision to see beyond circumstances to recognize character had changed multiple lives forever, proving that the most powerful investments aren't always measured in dollars, but in human potential.